right, Dan Gable. Even though I was a Cyclone, I'm now a Hawkeye, so go Hawks.
And the Jim Hawk team at FRYfest. We're signing autographs here today and having a great time. Come out and see us this season. We would love to have you there. And this weekend, let's beat state. 2, 3. Go Hawks!
We are at FRYfest in Coralville. I'm Terry with Terry Cloth, and we have lots of tie-dye, mostly Hawkeye tie-dye, because go Hawks, beat state tomorrow, yeah!
Hi, we're Children's Miracle Network, and we're here with the University of Iowa Touchdowns for Kids program. We ask Hawk fans to pledge $1 or more per touchdown this season, and we bill you at the end of the season. Last year, the Hawks scored 42 touchdowns, and this year we're hoping that they score a couple more. So we're out here, and we're asking people to pledge $1. So come visit us. Go Hawks!
That's right. See, you got yours on film. That's way better. Iowa wrestling coach was in the house.
Good job, Lock in the hole.
Put it in the hole.
That's on. So wait, we go 6, 7, 8. 6, 7, 8 minus 4. So we got 4.
That one wasn't on though.
Yes, it was.
That one wasn't on though.
Yes, it was.
That one wasn't on though.
Yes, it was. It was like this. It was like this. That's on.
That is on the
Okay, so
that is on the
okay, so we went 3.
Hi, I'm Amanda Sima, and my company is Alma Mater. We're based out of Columbus, Ohio, and we make vintage collegiate apparel. Basically, this is a 1920s style. You're not going to see it anywhere in any other store. We have a Letterman cardigan, a crew neck, a V-neck for women, and then a crew neck for men. As you can see, it's a chenille letter, just like the letters that letter winners get. So I think we're the only company like this in the country, and we're just happy to be here at FRYfest. Go Hawks!
So what we're doing here is we've got a board, we've got the state of Iowa, people coming in here marking where they're coming from here for FRYfest. And just to be fair, we have Cyclone fans signing over here, not that many. But then, of course, on the Hawkeye side, we're packed full with plenty of signatures from people from all over the state. Happy to be here for FRYfest 2012 for the big Iowa State rivalry game. It's going to be good.
Mr. Hattie, Mr. Phil Hattie.
Hey, thanks everybody. Thanks for showing up for this great day, honoring the man who brought Iowa football back where it belongs, the man who is responsible probably for everything we got now, and he's responsible for hiring Kirk Ferentz, and what more can you say? University of Iowa's had 2 football coaches in the last 30-some years, while the other Big Ten teams have had a total of like 55. So that's something for us to be proud of. We've got a great panel today. We're going to bring them out here, and we're going to sit. We're going to talk about Iowa State stories, and we're going to do everything, try to bring back some great memories of the Iowa State years, and maybe we'll even take a few questions from you. Okay, folks, we're just going to go around. We've got a lot of great players here. Let me start it out by telling you a few interesting facts about the Iowa State series. Hopefully, you guys hope you can add one more victory on your tail tomorrow, and we're obviously hoping we can do it for the black and gold. The series 39-20 in favor of the Hawkeyes right now. In Iowa City, the series record is 23-12. The biggest Iowa win, 1985. That's Rob Houtland, Larry Station, 57-3. Iowa won that first game in the series, as you remember, but the next year was the biggest ISU win. That was 31-0 in Iowa City, 1978. So that was a great win for the Cyclones. The longest Iowa streak in the series, 15 during the Hayden Fry era, and the longest Iowa State streak, 5. And that came earlier in this 1998, 9, 2001, 2, and 3. So, and you know, it is indeed a series right now. In the last 16 games these teams have played, you might think it's one way or the other, but the series is 8-8, the last 16 games. So it is indeed a rivalry now that everyone loves to talk about. Let's move on to that, 1985 season. Obviously, that was not as good a season for the Cyclones. We don't have anybody from that era, but we have some great players for the Hawkeyes here. A two-time All-American and Larry Station, Rob Houtland, one of the greatest place kickers in the country, and Chuck Long. And Larry, we went into that Iowa State game that year. I mean, we were a heavy favorite, and we won the game 57-3 in that year. But that was a special season. Tell us a little bit about that season and that run you had with the Hawkeyes, and you were with a great group of Hawkeyes for 4 or 5 years there.
Yeah, well, I'll just start off by saying, you know, I'm happy to be here among all the Iowa Hawkeye fans. I live in Omaha right now, so it feels very comfortable to be over here with all the black and gold around me. When I first came to Iowa City, though, like a lot of the players from out of state, I wasn't really aware of the rivalry between Iowa and Iowa State. You know, I was aware of the Nebraska-Oklahoma rivalry, and I understood how intense that was, but I didn't know that the Iowa State rivalry was that intense. So my freshman year, we happened to lose in Iowa City to Iowa State. And that was the worst loss of my career as far as our team, because the next week, our coaches let us have it big time. I mean, and you know who the ringleader of the coaches who let us have it big time was Coach McCarney. And it's ironic, he went on to become a head coach at Iowa State, because he used to talk of Iowa State real bad. So I learned the lesson that after we lost to Iowa State that first time, that we should never lose again. And so those next 3 years, we won by a pretty large margin, but I'll tell you, once I got that taste of what the coaches felt it was like to lose at Iowa State, I mean, it was more importance on that game than almost any game of the year that I can remember. So it was always a good game. Iowa State always came out ready to play, and we knew we had our hands full as soon as the kickoff started. So I give them a lot of credit. Even in the times that we won, I mean, they always played hard.
Good job, Brett. Now, you had your ups and downs in your career, but you had one perfect day at the right time, and it was against the Hawkeyes. I was jumping up and down in that end zone trying to distract you, but it obviously didn't work on that day with 1 second left. Tell us about, how do you get ready for the Hawkeyes, and maybe what was going through your mind in that last minute of the game when you knew you were driving down the field and you were probably going to be called on to kick what was the winning field goal?
I think preparing for the Iowa State game, everybody goes into it like it's another game, but there's a bigger intensity just because it's a rivalry game. You know, it's not on a national renowned status as some of these other rivalries, but it's still a rivalry game, and the intensity that goes into it is exactly the same as the Alabama rivalry games and all those guys. But it really means a lot just to be a part of it as a player. You know, growing up in state, and Brett Meyer can attest to this too. Just growing up watching those guys and to be a part of it, you know, it's really a big thing. And I think like you guys were saying, the out-of-state guys, they really catch on to that and buy into it, and everybody just comes together and gives their best shot. And like Brad said, I did play with Coach Chiswick, walked on, and he coined the name Shaggy. I'm a little less shaggy today, but the name lives on. But Mac was an awesome guy, and I think where he is now, he has a special heart, or a special place in his heart, not just for Iowa State. You know, once a Cyclone, always a Cyclone, but he has deep roots here in Iowa City, and I think it's just an state of Iowa thing in general for him. He really has a special place in his heart for the state of Iowa. Going into that game in 2007, I was 0 for 3 for the first couple games, and Chiswick was our coach that year, and he came up to me beforehand and said, I know you're a baller, I just got to get it out of you. And that game, just knowing what that meant to the state of Iowa and everybody, it really just helps you focus. Focus on what you have to do and just forget about everything else. And that's really what happened that game. Ended up going 5 for 6 on field goals, and hats off to Coach Ferentz, honestly. I've always, growing up, I've always thought he was a classy guy. And following that game, he actually wrote me a handwritten letter and sent it to me, and just telling me congratulations and way to step up in the adversity. And I thought that was a classy thing to do. And I want to thank all these guys, all the old guys around here, for really setting the stage for it. You. For really setting the stage, planting the seed for the rivalry, and just blossoming it into what it is today.
Well said. That's one thing we've got to remember. These are they're Cyclones and they're Hawkeyes, but when they're playing, whether they're in-state or out-of-state, is where they're from. They go to Iowa State University, you go to the University of Iowa, and for a period of your life, you're all Iowans. So it's a good thing, and it's a good state, and we're proud of all of you. Andy Brodell, your thinking on the series. You made a couple of great catches in the Iowa State series through the years.
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of memorable moments as a player. To take a step back, oddly enough, I don't think a lot of people know this, and I think I have a little bit of a different take than probably all these guys on this rivalry, because I actually grew up an Iowa State fan. I grew up in Ankeny, just down the road from Ames, and my dad's walking around somewhere. He made the great decision to get season tickets at Iowa State, but it wasn't because he was an Iowa State fan. He actually grew up an Iowa fan, but he, from an early age, I was interested in football, and he wanted to get me exposed to it, at the college level, and so I grew up and had season tickets there for I think 10 or 11 seasons. So I grew up watching a lot of games, a lot of Iowa State games, cheering for the Clones. A little bit ashamed to say now, but throughout the recruiting process, because they recruited me as well, I chose to come to Iowa, and as a player, I got to see a whole different side of it. And I can always remember, as a player, I wanted to go into Jack Trice because I saw so many games growing up there. I wanted to go into Jack Trice and beat Iowa State and Jack Trice, and we didn't get it done. We were 3-2 in my 5 years at Iowa, but they never got us in Kinnick. So it was kind of a back and forth each and every year for the rivalry for me personally. But kind of going on what Brett said, I think because I've seen it from both sides, it's just such a great rivalry on a state level. Obviously in the 80s, Iowa dominated, and in the early 90s, Iowa dominated. But now you see with the back and forth, both programs are very well respected. They have very well respected head coaches, and it's been a back and forth thing for the last, he said, 16 games. I think it just goes to show you the amount of pride I think Iowans take in this rivalry. It's definitely, I think, underrated on a national level as far as rivalries are concerned. And, it's got to be even and level and competitive in order for it to be a real good rivalry. And that's definitely what we have here. So I'm just very thankful to be a part of it. Thankful to see all the Hawk fans that are out here. Go Hawks.
Well, we want to thank you for coming. We want to especially thank these players, and a special round of thanks for the Iowa State players that joined us today for FRYfest.
This time I want to introduce Frank Fritz. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me. This is probably the most unusual one. This is one of the most unusual items I've ever looked at. It's a chair that was liberated from the NCAA Wrestling Championship at UNI. And the story I understand is the security guard liberated the chair and had Dan Gable sign it. And this was Dan Gable's last coaching session as coach for Iowa Wrestling.
Kind of cool. That goes down with the collectible world. You just never know what's going to be collectible, you know what I mean? We're looking at a chair here, but it is signed by him in great condition. It's cool.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Okay, well, me and Mike have been traveling around for about 20 years together, and we used to go to these amazing places. I mean, we go to these places, and some of them were weird, some were pretty whacked out, but we'd go and we'd meet these amazing people, and then we'd come home and we'd tell people about it, and they'd be like, no way. I'd be like, the guy had 1,800 chandeliers. They're like, nobody has 1,800 chandeliers. I mean, and there was, I'd come home and say, hey, the guy was eating Mighty Dog right out of the can. They're like, no way. I'm like, way. So anyway, we got a camera. I started filming Mike. He started filming me. We started putting these DVDs together. And the DVDs actually aren't too far from what we were actually putting down today. So we started shipping them to the networks, started trying to, get them out there. A little over 5 years before somebody picked us up. They told us, no, you don't have a show. History Channel told us 2.5 years ago, pass, no thanks. And I think the main thing about it it costs a lot of money to do shows. It costs a lot of money every day. And it was just hard to find a production company that would take a chance on 2 losers from Iowa riding around a white van. But, now there's 13 shows that have popped out since ours, I mean, you got Auction Kings, you got a skinny guy and a fat guy riding around a white van. Wow, really? Where'd you get that? You guys are amazing, So I guess we did have something at the beginning there.
Anyhow, we would like to thank everyone for being here. Realtors are the official sponsors of the word home. I'd like to thank you all for using the services of Realtors. Without further ado, let the jury begin. Ladies and gentlemen, the arena of the Iowa Razzie, Army Razzie, all the way. Come right in. As we look at the Razzie, let's take a minute to remember all of our armed forces that are serving our country and those of you veterans who have served. Ladies and gentlemen, the men and women of the University of Iowa Razzie with tomorrow's game ball. They left Tama, Iowa today. They are here right now to present the ball on stage. The University of Iowa Army Razzie.
you coming out and supporting us. Thank you for coming out and supporting the Hawkeyes. We're here today. We just came from Kamo. We met with Iowa State, picked up the game ball. We're here to end it off today. Just want to say real quick, God bless America and God bless the Hawkeye Nation! Thank you. And you guys have a rough time today?
Yes, I do.
We'd like to, you guys did such a wonderful job for us. We're going to have a special guest come up here next the game ball on behalf of the University of Iowa. That ball came a long way, and it's in the spirit that we do this. Ladies and gentlemen, to accept the game ball, wrestling coach emeritus at the University of Iowa, Mr. Dan Gable. Thank you, Dan. Ladies and gentlemen, the Iowa Redskins. All right, thanks a lot. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another special guest this evening. Listen to this little bitty short story. There are 3 statues of men in Iowa City. 3 statues that you can get in your car and visit. Number 1, the legendary football coach, legendary football player, Niall Kinnick. All right? What a man. What a student athlete. Number 2, the great Iowa City historian and former All-American swimmer at the University of Iowa, Mr. Irving Weber. All right. 2 great Hawkeyes. The 3rd statue is for a graduate of Iowa State University. However, that man went on to win a gold medal in the Olympic wrestling. He knew there was a higher calling. He came to the University of Iowa. Our head coach emeritus at wrestling, Mr. Dan Gable.
Yeah, I had 6 years at Iowa State, but 40 years now in Iowa City, 40 years. So it's my job, my privilege, to introduce Hayden Fry. Just want you to know that. When I think of Hayden Fry, I think of impact. Impact, how great of an impact he has had on a lot of Hawkeyes and a lot of people in football. When I think of Hayden Fry, I think of the guy that brought him in, an athletic director named Bump Elliott. When I think of Hayden Fry, I think of something that he came in and turned a program around that hadn't won in 20 years. And all he did was win for the next 21 years. For me, I visualize and have a big imagination. I would go to the football games for the first half because of the excitement and of that 70,000 people, because that fired me up. I was the wrestling coach and I knew my season was next, and I didn't have a lot of time to sit there and watch a winning football game when I needed to have a winning wrestling team. So I went there, got fired up, and then went back to the wrestling room. Now, the one game I stayed there was, I think, the first time that we'd been to the Rose Bowl in a long time. I stayed there just to see the impact of the people and what they would do as far as the roses, and they went everywhere, and it was an unbelievable sight, and all it did was fire this guy up. Even though we had a national championship, it's like you got to stay on your edge, and this guy... This guy kept me on my edge. He was not only put on a great football show, but he's very colorful off the field as well. He has more quotes in the American book for quotations than anybody in the world. A great thing about Hayden Fry is the fact that he can live on for a long time. They talked about a statue, but he has athletes that are coaching all over the United States of America in football that carry his tradition on and keep his name even more alive than if it was just Hayden Fry. They always give back to this guy. And lastly, and we'll get him up here in a second, last year I had the privilege of being honored at FRYfest. But the difference is, this guy gets honored at FRYfest every year. Thank you. Hayden Fry.
This is wonderful. What a great surprise. I didn't know wrestling coaches could talk. You may not know this, but Dan Gable set the all-time record at winning championships at the University of Iowa in wrestling. But beyond that, he's a great gentleman, a great father, got a great family, and fortunately, he was my security while I was here. He knows how to talk with his fist. You people are the greatest people in the world, and I've got proof of that. When I evaluated the Iowa films back in 1978, I'd been contacted by Athletic Director Bump Elliott in regards to coming to Iowa as a football coach. I had been offered the head job by telephone by a couple other major universities. So we had Iowa and the other two universities evaluating them. And Coach Bill Brazier, my defensive coordinator, had the staff, and he was looking at Iowa films. I had to go across the street. We just raised $25 million to build a new basketball arena, and the women's basketball coach wanted me to go over, and I did, and we had to find a place for an item for the women basketball players. And as we walked back across the street, I was thinking, Fry, you are the athletic director and the football coach. Well, we've had 5 great seasons at Iowa, winning a championship, at North Texas, and we'd been 9-1, 9-1, 8-3, and we didn't get a bowl bid. I called the NCAA and I want to know why, and they said, well, obviously, no one wanted to play you. So we made a decision. We wanted to go to a school where we produced a good football team. we'd have an opportunity to play in a bowl game, and we knew the Big Ten would do that. So we looked at the film. Every time that the University of Iowa made a first down, Kinnick Stadium went bananas. They stood up and applauded. And I'm sitting there looking at the film, and I'm wondering, I wonder what they'd do if they scored a touchdown. And that's what motivated us to come here, besides the athletic director, Bump Elliott, super guy, great coach. We both had been in the Marine Corps, and I really felt at home. But I never dreamed of the wonderful support that we'd get from the Iowa fans. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are really the reason for the success of the Hawkeyes. This game tomorrow is something tremendously important to both Iowa State and the University of Iowa. Duffy Daugherty, a good friend of mine at Michigan State, a famous football coach, he called me. He said, Coach, I understand you've taken the job at Iowa. And I said, yes, sir. He said, do you want to win? I said, yes, sir. He said, I'll tell you how. The first thing you've got to do is dominate your state. I said, how do you do that? He said, well, you've got to beat Iowa State. He said, if you beat Iowa State, then you can out-recruit them, and that'll give you a base for the Big Ten. And that's exactly what we did. It took us 3 years. Well, we might have won the first one, I don't remember, but it was very, very difficult, and then we won 15 or 16 straight. And so you can see how important this game is, because the Iowa State people are great people. They've got a great university, and this year they have a tremendous football team, and the Hawks are really going to have to improve from the game last week. Even though we won it by 1 point, everybody knows that. Kirk Ferentz and his staff and the players are aware of that. So it's going to be a wonderful game tomorrow, and I'm extremely happy to be here. I got to say one last thing. I just happened to think about it. Somebody told me that President Obama was in town today. That's amazing. He called me after you find people dedicated to Hayden Fry Freeway out here in my name. He knew that I gave the first black player scholarship in the South when I was coaching at SMU. A little fellow named Jerry Levice. He was fantastic. Nevertheless, President Obama called. Congratulations, Coach. I think that's wonderful. Enjoy the Hayden Fryway, because about this time next year, it'll probably be a government toll road. I thought he was kidding at the time, but I'm not for now. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Hayden Fry. Cheerleaders and dance performers under the direction of Mr. Greg Nemick. Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Ladies and gentlemen,
Hawkeyes, let's go! Iowa! Hawkeyes, let's go! Iowa! Hawkeyes, let's go!
Thank our sponsor, the Eastern Iowa Airport and the Iowa City Area Association of Realtors. What a great